So in this video, I'm going to go over what my guidance is for the energy of Lionsgate and how it's not at all really related to the actual definitions or meanings that we've been given out there. So let's take a look. Okay, so when it comes to Lionsgate, typically what the definition is that it's some alignment with Sirius, with the sun in Leo and all of this. And it's only on August 8th because of the numerology, or I don't know. There's something about 8/8 with this. I think it relates to like abundance, infinity, something like that numerologically. And what I'm getting right now as my guidance is no, as like that's a load of shit. That's not at all what it relates to. What they're saying now is, yes, you're feeling the energy appropriately, but your explanation for it is misguided. They're saying that yes, there is an energy around this time of year that does exist, and it changes from year to year based on the different energetic cycles that do come through, and whatever else is happening at that time in relation to kind of like the energetic environment. But they're saying it in this case it doesn't relate numerologically, and we're going to go over why that is, why it tends to be around that specific date but may not always fall specifically on that date, and we'll get into that. And also there is an aspect of this Sirius alignment that they're just like, is just, the word they're giving me is like balderdash. Like, it's just, I don't know why it's that word exactly, but it's just balderdash. It's just, it's not like something that's really, what they're giving me is it was somebody looking for an explanation for something and just trying to find it in areas where there really wasn't. They were looking for it in areas where they shouldn't have been, where there was no real explanation or understanding. And then everybody else kind of took that and ran with it, instead of trying to actually have a hard look at it and figure it out. They're saying, yes, there's people that actually do intuitively, or who are sensitive, that feel into this energy and understand it. That's why it's a thing. And that's why people usually tend to say it's not just 8/8 or on the day or around the day. It's usually sometime before and sometime after. There's like almost like a 2-week window or around that 10-day window or something that people usually talk about surrounding this energy of Lionsgate. Okay, and they're saying that yes, the energy itself is legitimate, but they're wanting you to question what you're being told about it. Okay, and we're going to get into that here. So let's go with one of the first explanations, in that there's some alignment with the star Sirius. First, they talk about the sun being in Leo, so they're speaking astrologically here. And okay, yeah, sun is in Leo. I've got a chart set to August 8th, 1:30 p.m. Sun is in Leo, halfway through Leo. Okay, fair enough. But it's not just the sun in Leo. Okay, but there's more to it, and we'll get to that later. But they say that it's relating to, the star Sirius or whatever. Okay, astrologically, right here, the star Sirius, I've clicked on it. It's highlighted right up here. Sirius is now highlighted. It's at 14 degrees, 26 minutes of Cancer. The sun is at 16 degrees, and in this chart, 16 minutes of Leo. There is no alignment with the star Sirius at all with this in any way astrologically. And they're saying you may see something visually, but what they're saying now is that the visuals, you're seeing that due to the precession of the Earth or the tilt. And then what they're saying is that astrologically, though, the Earth does not actually move in position from its orbit around the sun. It just has that precession, which is a tilt, which is, it moves over a very long period of time. But the Earth itself does not move from its orbit. And it's the Earth's orbit, and from our vantage point on Earth, where modern Western astrology is calculated based off the vernal equinox here at the beginning of Aries, and then it goes through there. And they're saying it's a mathematical representation of these energetic cycles based on the cycle of Earth and where you are at on Earth through the house system, etc. And they're saying that relates to your location within space-time, of how the energies within the system, our solar system, or within an overall system in the universe, these natural background energies that exist, and how they're augmented by stuff that exists within the environment, the system, such as our solar system, planets, etc., and how that all affects everything else. It's not necessarily what you see. What they're saying, what you see as a visual representation from your perspective, they're saying it's the perspective that matters. And you're not seeing it from a perspective that is actually properly in alignment with how those energies function. Okay, and if you want more on the understanding of what I've been guided to with astrology, based on what I've just said, you can head on over to my website, mysticalmark.ca, and all of that is there under the What is Astrology section, and you'll kind of understand what they're getting at, what I'm getting at, as it's more explained there. Okay, but they're saying it's got nothing to do with any alignment with the star Sirius. They're saying the fixed stars don't really have the effect that you think. Okay, they're saying don't continue talking about it in this video. That's for another video if we want to talk about fixed stars and other things like that. But they're just saying it doesn't have the effect that you think. And in this case, specifically for Lionsgate, it doesn't have an effect at all. All right, so the next thing they want to touch on is, okay, we've got the energy of Leo, Sun in Leo, but they want to touch on, okay, what actually is it? What actually is this energy that people are tapping into, tuning into, feeling into, whatever that happens during this time frame? So in order to do that, you have to understand each sign in astrology is broken down into 10-degree segments known as decans. So each sign, it's easier to see if I go to a more like empty sign like Virgo here. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it in the video, but you can see at 10 degrees there's this larger tick, and then another 10 degrees, little larger tick, and then it moves into Libra there, etc. Each sign has it. So at each 10-degree point, there's decans. Each decan is ruled by a planet relating to the same element of that sign. So for example, in Leo here, first decan of Leo is the Sun. Second decan of Leo, you go to the next sign in zodiacal order, which would be Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, so would be ruled by Jupiter. Okay, see where I'm going with this? Third decan would then be ruled by Mars, as the next sign, fire sign in zodiacal order would be Aries. Okay, so you relate it to the same element, and then you go to the next sign, it's ruler, then the next sign, it's ruler, etc. for each of the decans. So for the second decan of Leo, ruled by Jupiter. So we're dealing with a Jupiterian energy, which is already a very positive, expressive, masculine energy. The word that I'm getting is benevolent. There's a benevolence to Jupiter and Sagittarius. Of course, they're also saying that that expansive behavior could be turned and used in a negative way for manifestation and stuff as well. There are nefarious people that do that use this energy in a negative way, okay, but we're not going to touch on that right now in this video, because they're saying don't relate it to like the traditional things where it's like, oh, Venus and Jupiter, they're the benefics. They're like, yes, but anything can be a benefic. Anything can be used in a positive way, anything can be used in a negative way, but overall, as its general energy, as it stands alone, it is typically a very abundant, prosperous, very positive masculine energy. But yes, that could be manipulated to be used in a negative way, okay? That's what they're trying to get across. So don't just be stuck in a rigid definition, as there's more of a limitless creativity that can exist here. All right? Now with that, this is what they're saying is getting at within about that time frame that people think of as Lionsgate, like that around 2 weeks, roughly. It'd be about roughly 10 days if we look at it astrologically here, 10, 12 days, that this is occurring. And we can see we have the chart set to August 8th. And where is the Sun? Right in the smack dab middle of Leo, right in the smack dab middle of that decan. So the halfway point would be like 15 degrees, right? And so we're right in the middle of that second decan there. And this is what they're reminding me of, is this is right in the middle of that energy. So you have more of like almost like a concentration of that. It's like dealing with the aspects, right? Aspects obviously build, peak, and then wane. Okay, but that entire energetic window of build, peak, and waning, that energy is existent there. So the peak is, when that energy is maybe at its strong point, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the strongest things are always going to happen at that point, right? It may be after that build point where you reach that, and then at the waning is when maybe more so when things tend to occur, or it could be in the build up that things begin to occur. You have that energetic window where stuff relating to that theme, whatever can become manifest, or what you choose to manifest, like within that energy or whatever, that can come through within that energy window. And they're saying the same thing kind of applies here to this energy of these decans, in that when you're smack dab in the middle of it, you're right in the middle of that energy. And so you've got this very Leo plus this Jupiter expansiveness energy of that is bringing out this very positive masculine energy. And they're saying that Leo can also is a very positive masculine sign. It of course can be used in a negative way, right? Like they said, but in essence, and it's very masculine energy is very more like outward focused, extroverted. With Leo putting things in the spotlight, it's that courage, that confidence to be in the spotlight, to stand out there, that kind of a stuff. And of course, with this benefic, expansive energy of Jupiter, expanding that energy even more and including its own energetic input into that as well. But what they're saying is more so it's just growing and expanding on that Leo energy in a lot of ways. Okay, and we already do have Jupiter in Leo already. And another thing that they are saying is that this energy that we consider Lionsgate in a lot of ways is going to continue even after, the sun leaves this middle decan into the third decan and even beyond, because then Jupiter is going to come into this decan. And not just that, but Jupiter is already in Leo, kind of in a lot of ways doing already the same thing. And if you watch my weekly mundane astrology videos, you know that with this Jupiter and Leo on a mundane level that I've talked about, this is highlighting a lot of things of the world, of like either in governments or other things that need to be paid attention to or whatever, is being very strongly put into the spotlight and highlighted in a lot of ways with this Jupiter and Leo energy. And like I said, to some of us, it may not seem these things may not be positive, but they're being highlighted for a reason so that we can do something about it, which can then lead to something positive. Okay, again, it's about how this energy is used. All right, and there's more on that if you want to understand that as well. That's also on the What is Astrology section on my website, mysticalmark.ca as well. Okay, so that is what they're saying in terms of, really the Lionsgate energy is the sun being in the second decan of Leo, which is ruled by Jupiter, and there's this expansiveness of this Leo energy. And of course, it's not always going to be August 8th. It's going to be around August 8th, give or take a bit, by a degree or so. August 8th, the sun will be in the middle, give or take a degree or so off of that middle energy around that time frame. So it's like, that's kind of when the energy, if you want to, they're saying in relation to maybe an aspect, that's kind of when it peaks, but they're like, it's that, but it's a bit different than like an aspect, but you're kind of just stuck in the middle of the concentration of that energy. They're saying it's not strong, it's not really weaker or anything at the other places. It's just, there's more of an outflow of that energy, I guess you could say, but that energy still exists in the other portions of that decan as well. But they're saying that's what people are tuning into and feeling around the same time every year that is occurring, is that's part of this energetic cycle that is occurring here. And of course, the differences for each year, like I said, this year we have Jupiter in Leo, so it's adding to this, and it maybe continues on the same energy even after the fact as well, and before too, in a way, but after the fact as well, especially since Jupiter will then also be in that decan within a couple days of the sun actually leaving that decan. as well with that. So yeah, they're just wanting to say that that's the energy that people are really tuning into, and they're also wanting to bring to the forefront to question things. Don't just blindly believe things that you see on the internet or what other astrologers say or whatever. And they're saying to even question my stuff as well. If if you're like, okay, well, what about this? What about that? Ask the questions. They're saying you can ask Mark questions in the comments. You can ask the questions. You can, question. Try to get to an understanding of things. The only way you're ever going to understand something fully or get to the truth is if you ask the questions. So question what is already existent out there, question even the rules of astrology, question like everything. Because even through doing that, we can actually begin to see new things and learn new things and discover new things about maybe how this really works or how this is used, etc. All right, so that's about all I have for this video. I just wanted to bring forth my guidance on Lionsgate, etc., and how it's different than from what the mainstream says, but that yes, there is an underlying energy there that does exist that people are tuning into. It's just not what we've been told that it really is. Okay, and also they're saying, yes, it's okay to question that, even question what I'm saying now, etc. They want you to do that. They want you to question things. They want you to understand your own freedom, to understand things on your own, and to question things and not just blindly believe someone for whatever it is. Okay. Anyways, if you're looking for a reading with me or any other information or anything else that I do, all those links are in the description below, or you can head over to my website, mysticalmark.ca. Thank you all for watching. I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye.